Talk about low-budget flights. No food or movies? I'm out of here. I like running better. Welcome back, YouTube viewers, to another video. Alright, so, time for me to finally talk about the long-awaited sequel to Sonic Frontiers, and what I'd like to see for it. So, Frontiers, as well as now Shadow Generations, have laid quite an interesting framework for the next few Sonic games, and I don't know, it took me a while, but I finally decided to make a video judging what I would want for it, because we've been getting some leaks recently that, thanks to the Sonic show, I know about. Good channel, by the way. They're good for news. He's good for news updates. But anyway, so yeah, we have some vague idea of what Sonic Frontiers 2, that's what I want to call it, is going to be. And yes, they are leaks, but judging by all the context of them, they're probably true. But I'm not going to talk about what I hope is true in the leaks. I want to talk about just what I want. Now, this was not an easy video to make because there's so much thought that would go into what I want in the next Sonic game. It's kind of hard to pick and choose because on the one hand, there are some things I want, but I think those things might be going a little too far. And if they did, the game could end up coming out kind of rushed or too overstuffed. So I don't know, I just want to talk about what I quickly talk about what I thought of Frontiers and Shadow Generations, though. So, I think story-wise, Frontiers is pretty weak. Has some good elements, but does not hold up in my replay. But gameplay-wise, despite the not so good graphics and all stuff like that, or the floating rails, I still had a ton of fun playing Sonic Frontiers. I have put many hours into that game. It was a very fun game that I do think is a good framework for the next few games. Shadow Generations was amazing. Story-wise, didn't have enough scenes to make it hit hard, but what was there was pretty good. Great animated cutscenes too, though. The animation quality really stepped up. Much better voice acting as well. But as for the gameplay itself, yeah, the stages were super fun and some of the best in the series history, and the open zone was better than the one in Sonic Frontiers. So yeah, that's the kind of framework I'm trying to build off of. Open zone with linear levels baked into there, Okay, I just want to talk about the playable characters. I'm going to request 6 playable characters. Starting off, of course, with Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, the main trio themselves. I think Sonic should mostly play how he did in Frontiers, but maybe polish up some of his moveset a bit. I'm not entirely sure because it's been a while since I played Frontiers, because for some reason it won't load on my Xbox. But anyway, yeah, I think the combat that he was given in Frontiers is pretty fun. But I don't know, maybe there can be improved a bit. Some things changed. I'm not sure. Like the Psyloop, for example. Maybe you should have it be that instead of having this be able to spawn in an infinite amount of rings to the point where he can just fill up to completely, maybe it should be he can only fill up his ring gauge from Psyloops halfway. I think Tails and Knuckles, much like in the Final Horizon, should play pretty similar to Sonic, but give him some extra moves. I'm also going to say this. Maybe you can finally ditch the boost. Like, I think we've had... Look, I love the boost in Shadow Generations, but I don't think we need the boost forever. Or maybe you could make it... The boost could stay for the linear levels, but for the open zone, it could be a spin dash. That's what I'm going to go with. So yeah, Sonic would be able to do a spin dash. Tails and Knuckles wouldn't, because that's not them. Tails would instead, be able to fly. And Knuckles would be able to glide and climb walls, like in the adventure games. And I guess Sonic 3 and Knuckles. So yeah. So I don't really have too much to add for their moveset. These are just 3 of the characters I want to play as in this game. Other characters, Silver, Blaze, and Amy. So Amy has basically become part of Team Sonic these days, which I'm not a fan of, but whatever. So yeah, like I said for Tails and Knuckles, same thing. Basically just play similar to Sonic, but instead of having a spin dash, you could use her hammer. None of that tarot card nonsense. Until a few years ago, that was only a thing in the manual of a game that was obscure for over 20 years. Oh boy, if times changed. But yeah, I guess, Amy's got to be in this game, so yeah, I do that. Silver and Blaze. So you're maybe wondering, okay, why do you want Silver and Blaze to be in this game? Because I've heard some people say that now that Shadow finally has a direction in the games again after spending over a decade of just kind of being there. People want the next game to be about Team Sonic interacting with Team Dark. Do I think that could be really good? Yeah, I do. And I still do want that. But here's the thing. We still get to see those guys occasionally. We got stuff like Dark Beginnings where we got to see Team Dark. We got Team Sonic Racing, Shadow got his own game again. But we never get to see Silver and Blaze really ever. Outside of Team Sonic Racing, I guess, which, to be fair, does actually have a decent amount of cutscenes, even if they aren't great. So yeah, they're in that, but that's a cheap racing spinoff that nobody really cares about. It doesn't even have fully animated cutscenes, and yeah, you don't really get to play as Silver and Blaze. You have to play as them in cars. The last time Silver was playable just as Silver was in Sonic Rivals 2, which was 18 years ago and also was a 2D racing game. Like, the only time you just get to play as Silver in 3D, that was Sonic 06. That was almost 20 years ago. Same for Blaze. Yeah, she originally debuted in the Rush games. She was in the first two Rush games, but yeah, after that, that's it. Olympic games and racing games don't really count. I mean, I play as them for real. I think Silver, yeah, again, just make him and Blaze play similar to Sonic, but I think for Silver, you gotta give him his hover. You gotta give him the ability to pick things up and toss them around with his psychokinesis. Maybe you could make him have psychic laser beams or something that he shoots from his hands. I don't know. Just spitballing here. Same Blaze, same basically just play as Sonic but instead of giving her a spin dash though, maybe you could give her a boost. I don't know, maybe you could give her some kind of fiery tornado to spin around into. I'm not sure. And you gotta give her ability to use fire, shoot fire, Maybe she could have some kind of fire animation that appears when she runs. I don't know. There's a lot you could do with Silver and Blaze. So yeah, I want them to be in this game because cool as it would be to see Team Dark again, Silver and Blaze get to appear even less. It'd be nice for them to feel like they actually have meaning again. I mean, look, I'm not entirely a fan of how Tails, Knuckles, and Amy were handled in Frontiers, but the point of their inclusion was still to make them feel like they have a direction again. That's what Shadow Generations was for Shadow. So make Silver and Blaze feel like they have a purpose again. Gotta talk about the open zone. So, yeah, a city would be a cool open zone to have. Something like Station Square. I'm not entirely sure how I want the story of this to go, which in the open zones are a big part of the story, determined by the story, sort of. But we gotta have a city open zone. That was something we didn't have before, and I think that'd be pretty cool. Everyone wants that. I mean, what if it actually were Station Square? Wouldn't that be cool? Or maybe Central City from SA2, which is where the gun truck takes place. Like, you could have some of the city escape imagery, maybe. I'm not really sure. Yeah, just something like that. That'd be really cool for an open zone. You could have people suggested a skate park area, maybe. You could have Sonic go in a train station, maybe down on top of a train or something. You could go to the top of a building and jump across them like a superhero. I don't know. There's a lot you could do. You could kind of recreate the opening of SA1, except it actually looks good. Another open zone this is something I'm more suggested is that I want it to look kind of like Water Palace in Racing Cross World, which yes, Sonic Racing Cross World is not actually released yet, but we've got to see what their Water Palace looks like from the beta test and all that, and yes, while it's true that this does not really look anything like Water Palace from Sonic Rush, I think it's a really cool visual thing seeing that I think would be really good for an open zone game. Because yeah, they could knowing Sonic Team, you gotta reuse assets, so you could reuse some assets from that game for this. And yeah, I just think it's a cool looking area, and you could put it near a city and it would make sense geographically. So yeah, I think it'd be a cool open zone. You could have some challenges of if Sonic can't swim, stuff like that. Maybe if you try to go in the water as Blaze, you can't use her fire powers, stuff like that. I think that'd be pretty cool. Then we need some kind of big Eggman base as a open zone. I mean, can you imagine how cool it would have been if Eggman Land from Unleashed were an open zone? Yeah, it's kind of got a little hub world area, but it's pretty small and there's not really a ton to do in it. Which makes sense, and I'm not saying they should have tried to make Eggman Land a massive hub world in Unleashed because I don't know how they would have even done that, but yeah. So, of course, I think we should have an Eggman base as an open zone. Maybe it doesn't need to be as big as the others because it's probably be toward the end of the game. I'm not sure. But also, yeah, if they do make an Eggman base, they better take some inspiration from Eggman Land. Not just copy it because that would be lazy, but you gotta put up big Eggman statues, big Eggman faces, all the works. Maybe have a bunch of death traps and instant death hazards and things like that. Although I don't think anyone really likes instant death hazards, so maybe just include a few of them, not too many. If you can't tell this is supposed to be Angel Island, then I don't know. I just wanted to get a picture of Angel Island. I thought it looked cool. So since Frontiers tackle in its story tackle a lot of the origin of the Chaos Emeralds and how the ancients came to Angel Island and apparently they got mutated by the Master Emerald, which turned them into Chao and all that stuff. I think Angel Island definitely needs to be a location in this game. There was an earlier leak for the next game that actually mentioned Angel Island, so maybe we'll go there. And yeah, it doesn't need to be all of Angel Island. Like, we don't need to see Sandopolis and Lava Reef and Ice Cap. But, just like the more general jungle areas of Angel Island would be a cool open zone, I think. Maybe you could get to go to the Master Emerald Shrine for a little part of it. Well, I think that'd be a cool idea and it would tie into the story. Okay, it's cyberspace. Or the linear levels of this game, Frontiers, you collect the gears and you can open the portals to go to cyberspace levels, and in Shadow Generations, these are the regular levels, like the Generations boost levels that you access through the open zone. So, I think they should definitely play like Shadow Generations. Yeah, I mentioned earlier, maybe we could keep the boost for the linear levels, but keep the spin dash for the open zone. I think that's a good compromise, You gotta have both in the game, but neither of them really get sacrificed for the quality of the other. Also, Shadow Generations proved we can have long levels that are completely 3D and still have the boost, so I'd like to see that, please. None of these 2D sections. I mean, I guess having a few 2D sections on the islands is fine, but I'd rather them not do that. I mean, Sonic Dream Team was technically a mobile game. That was the first Sonic game in 17 years to be fully 3D. That's not a racing spinoff. That is pathetic. So yeah, just make them play like Shadow Generations levels, although no more, ooh, you got transported to the Doom Zone, none of that. Kingdom Valley was a complete level, didn't have any of that stuff. Radical Highway was. Oh, I didn't really like Radical Highway, but whatever. Yeah, Radical Highway is so cool, Black Doom, but we don't need any more of that. Also, that would require there would have to be some kind of in-story explanation for there to be Doom Zone-esque areas in this game. So I don't know. Point is, yeah, just give us some linear levels to access some way through collectibles or something. Then there is the story. Honestly, I'm not really sure what to do for the story of this game because there's so much to unpack. I wouldn't even know where to begin. So I just gotta say that what I do want the story to focus on is finally explaining the connection between the Master and Chaos Emerald. So in Frontiers, we learned that the Master Emerald and Chaos Emeralds were not always together. The Ancients had the Chaos Emeralds on their home planet, and then they came to Earth because the Emeralds were attracting to the Master Emerald, which was on Angel Island. Okay, why were they separated? Why was one on an alien planet and one on Earth? What's the connection? I want this game to finally answer what that connection is. Maybe we could learn a little bit more about the echidnas, maybe get some character development for Knuckles. Maybe you could have some stuff with Silver wanting to protect the Emerald. I don't know. And should this game have some kind of crazy monster final boss that isn't Eggman? Probably, but I don't know. I mean, it would be pretty cool to have Eggman as the final boss, but I think it'd also be really cool to have some kind of giant monster, but how that giant monster would work into the story, I've got no clue. Then there's the music. So, even though Tomoyo Otani has been the lead composer for Sonic since '06, well, with the exception of both generations games, Sonic and Shadow, those were Jun Sonoe, who did SA1, 2, Heroes, Shadow the Hedgehog, like most of Black Knight. So I think keeping Tomoyo Otani to do most of the game's background music and stuff like that, that's fine. But I thought of a cool idea. Maybe you could have Tomoyo Otani do the open zone music, 'cause that's supposed to be more atmospheric, and you could have Jun Sonoe do a lot more of the like the stage music. You could have them mix and match, but something like that, you know. Also, I know there's some stuff going on between Sega and Crush 40, but can we have a new Crush 40 song, please? Like, make it the main theme. Make the final boss theme. Like, give us 3 Crush 40 songs or something. Even just one would be nice. Now, I know there are people who are going to say, but I want Kellen Quinn and the guys who did the music for Frontiers. Look, I like those songs. I really do, but I'd rather have Crush 40 back than those guys. Because I think those songs will just lean a little too hard into guys screaming their heads off, which is not entirely something I like. That's why Breakthrough It All is probably my least favorite song from Frontiers. So much of it is just a guy screaming. Undefeatable and Find Your Flame are actual songs. I still like Breakthrough It All, though, I do. But so yeah, if we can get Crush 40 back, give us another Crush 40 song. And yeah, you just gotta bring back Jun Sonoe and Tomoyo Otani, of course, do the music, because why wouldn't they? So, yeah, that's what I want from the next Sonic game. Maybe it's not as concrete as you might have thought it would be or wanted it to be for me, but I don't know. I mean, there are so many ways this game could do things, so much it could do, so much it couldn't do, so much it should, so much it shouldn't. Bada bing, bada boom. Who knows what we're going to get out of this game? It'll probably release toward the end of next year, which 4-year gap. Still better than the 5-year gap between Forces and Frontiers. And we're actually getting new games every year, so having to wait so long for a mainline entry isn't as painful, but whatever. Point is, I'm excited for Sonic Frontiers 2. Whatever we get out of it, I hope it does at least some of the things I want it to do. Comment down below what you thought of this. That's all for now. And remember to stay way past cool.